Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tiffany and today I'm going to be showing you guys some makeup do's and don'ts for beginners. If you're a makeup beginner and you're just learning how to do certain things, there are common mistakes that we all make. So today I'm going to show you guys what not to do if you're a beginner. For my right side, which is your left, I'm going to be doing the don'ts, and then for my left side, which is your right, I'm going to be doing what to do. If you've made some of these mistakes, please don't get offended. I've made these mistakes as well. This video is just a little bit of tips and tricks on how to perfect your makeup game. I'm gonna jump right in. First, I'm gonna start with moisturizer. I'm gonna be using the Neutrogena Water Boost Moisturizer. And I'm only gonna apply this to the left side. So that is the first tip, okay? You always want to moisturize your skin before you apply any makeup. And I know what you're probably thinking. If you're oily, you're like, oh, I can skip out on the moisturizer. But I am oily and I never skip out on my moisturizer. The foundation just goes on so much smoother when you have moisturizer on. And if you are oily like me, you just want to make sure you're using a light moisturizer, nothing too thick or too heavy. Not going to add any moisturizer to this side. I'm going to move on to priming the skin. Priming the skin is very important if you want your makeup to last all day. And I'm going to be using the Angel Veil Primer by NYX. This is a dupe for the Hourglass Mineral Veil, which I always use, and it is my favorite, but that one costs 70 bucks. And this one costs about 15. So I'm going to prime this side of my face. And again, if you're oily, I suggest using a primer that's going to help control the oils throughout the day. Can you see a visible difference on one side of my face where I use the primer? The primer actually helped mattify my skin a little bit. And it also helped blur out some of my pores. So to me, this side of my face looks a lot smoother than this side. And this side is all prepped and ready for foundation. For foundation, one of the most common mistakes I see made is using a foundation that's too light for your skin tone. I know us brown girls and us melanin magic girls have trouble matching our foundation to our skin tone because there's not a lot of options out there for us. But I would say if you are struggling to find your match, it's always better to go just a teensy weensy bit darker than to go too light. So for this side of my face, which is the don't side, I'm gonna apply a foundation that is, I thought this was too light, but it actually might work. So I'm applying a foundation that's just a smidge too light, and actually on camera, it's not looking too light. It's looking almost like my perfect match. So I'm gonna go in and add some concealer to lighten it up. Why does this look so beautiful? So I'm lightening this side up for the purpose of the video. As you can see, this side is slightly lighter than my skin complexion, and that's what we don't want. Now for this side, I'm gonna go in with, of course, my foundation match. Okay, on the do side, we've got a good color match going on. My skin is looking nice and healthy because we moisturized and we primed. We're gonna move on to brows, which I know is difficult for a lot of beginners. I'm gonna take some Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow Pomade in the color Ebony and fill in my brows. So common mistakes I see a lot of women make with the brow pomade is just going in too dark and too heavy. Also, taking the pomade here in the front of the brow is really gonna weigh the brow down and give it a dark, heavy, Sharpie look. You don't want that. For this side, I'm gonna use an eyebrow pencil. I'm gonna use the Brow Styler Definer by L'Oreal. One thing I would recommend is for beginners to start with a pencil. It's gonna be a lot easier to fill in your brows, and if you make mistakes, it's gonna be easier to remove. See how much lighter the pencil is than the pomade? And then to help the brow look even more natural, I'm going to fill it in with powder instead of the actual pencil. This one is by Anastasia Beverly Hills. It's the Ebony shade. And I'm going to take the lighter shade, which is this side, and just fill in the front here. Sorry if the lighting is changing. I'm using natural light today and the sun keeps going down and up. So one tip that I have for beginners when you're filling in your brows, to help them look a bit more natural, you want to use more pressure towards the end of the tail, and that'll make the color darker, and then use light pressure towards the beginning of the brow. Same with powder. So you want to use the light powder towards the front of the brow, and then the darker powder towards the end of the brow for a more natural look. So I'm going to dip into the dark color just a little bit now and fill in the tail here. Now that we've gotten the brows on, it's time to clean them up. So another mistake I see made is people using too light of a concealer to clean up the brows. So I'm going to take this really, really light concealer here and use it to clean up this brow. And then you want to be very light-handed with the concealer. With this side, I'm going to be heavy-handed so you guys can see the difference. The reason you want to be light-handed with the concealer, because if you don't, it's going to be harder to blend and it's going to be an obvious line of demarcation, and that you do not want. Another thing I see is applying the light concealer to the top of the brow. Now this step I feel is totally unnecessary. I mean, if you like the look, by all means, continue to do it. But to me, it makes it a little bit more obvious that the brow is drawn on. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to blend this out. For the dew side, I'm gonna go in with a concealer that's a little bit darker, and I'm only gonna use a very small amount. For this side, I'm not going to conceal the top of the brow just because I feel like it's a little bit unnecessary. But if you feel like you need to conceal the top of the brow, I would go in with a concealer that matches my skin tone or my foundation. Now, in my opinion, this side is looking a lot better. We have a more natural looking brow going on. It's a little bit lighter, and to me, it's less obvious that it's filled in. And when I say less obvious, I mean just a little bit less obvious. I mean, obviously I'm wearing makeup. This isn't a no makeup look tutorial, so obviously I'm wearing makeup and I want it to look like I'm wearing makeup. But you always want it to look as natural as possible. That's the goal. Now, if you like a dark, choppy brow, hey, who am I to judge? Next, it's time for concealer. For the don't side, I'm gonna use a concealer that is too light. So when you highlight, you wanna use a concealer that's 1 to 2 shades lighter than your skin tone. To me, 2 is kind of pushing it. You can get away with it if you're going for a full glam look, but for a daily basis, I would recommend 1 shade lighter. And I'm just gonna conceal right here. So right under the eye. I'm not gonna drag the concealer down. For the dew side, I'm gonna take a concealer that's about 1.5 shades lighter than my skin tone. And I'm gonna apply it in a triangular motion. I'm also gonna put a little on my chin here and forehead. And then of course for this side, I'm bringing the concealer down towards the cheekbone. Another common mistake is applying too much setting powder. So for the don't side, I'm really gonna layer the setting powder on. And what this does is make the under eyes look too dry and too cakey. For the dew side, I'm gonna go in with my Cover FX mattifying setting powder in the color medium. And I'm just gonna apply a little bit to all the areas that we highlighted. Now look at the difference here. In this, I'm going to dust away the extra powder. While this side bakes some, I'm going to go in with some contour. I'm using Bahama Mama by The Balm. And an easy mistake to make with your contour is applying it too heavy and not blending it in good. I'm also going to contour my forehead and chin. For the dew side, I'm going to take that same contour powder, but I'm going to apply a much smaller amount. To bronze, I'm going to go in with my CoverGirl Queen bronzer. And again, for the don't side, I'm going to be very heavy-handed. Do you guys see that? A lot of times with makeup, less is more. For the dew side, I'm just gonna apply a little bit right above the contour. Okay, I'm gonna brush away the bake here. And you see how we're left with something that's a lot more harsh and a lot more dry looking. I'm gonna do a really quick eyeshadow look just to kind of go over some of the common eyeshadow mistakes. So our lids are already primed with concealer, so I'm gonna go ahead and skip out on applying any extra primer, which is okay if you have concealer on the lids. But if you don't have concealer on the lids, or you're going for a really colorful, dramatic look, always prime your eyelids with eyeshadow primer. So I'm gonna take my Saharan 2 palette, which is easily my favorite palette at the moment, and I'm gonna apply this color here. Now my eyelids are slightly hooded, so I always like to take my eyeshadow above my crease so that when I'm looking forward, the eyeshadow peeks through. For the don't side, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna keep the shadow low in my crease, and you'll see the difference. And also for the don't side, I'm not gonna blend very well. I'm gonna kind of rush through. For the do side, I'm gonna take the same brush in the same color, but I'm gonna apply it higher in the crease. And what that's gonna do is open my eyes up and allow them to look bigger and like I have more lid space. Can you see the difference? This eye, when my eye is open, you can barely see any of the color. And if you're gonna work hard on your eyeshadow, you definitely want it to be seen. For the next transition color, I'm gonna go in with this one here. And I'm gonna apply it to the don't side. Again, I'm gonna keep it very low in the crease. And I have to admit, I was guilty of doing my eyeshadow this way for the longest time because I was always afraid to bring it up high. I was always afraid that it would look clownish or too dramatic, but in actuality, it's the opposite, especially if you have hooded eyelids. So I'm gonna take the same color, same brush, and apply it slightly below the first color we laid down. See how this eye is a lot more awake, a lot more open? This one is more closed off and looks smaller. For the lid color, I'm gonna take this Stila Magnificent Metal in the color Bronzed Belle, and I'm gonna apply it just to the mobile lid here. And then for the dew side, I'm going to bring the color all the way to the crease. For my brow bone highlight, I'm gonna take the color here. I'm not gonna blend it in. I'm just gonna leave a line of demarcation. I'm gonna take the same color, the same brush, but for the dew side, I'm going to keep the highlight right under the arch. You always wanna go back in with your blending brush and blend the highlight into the first transition color. One of the most common eyelash mistakes is not trimming your lashes. So when your lashes come in the box, they come extra long. They normally won't fit the average person's eye. So what you want to do is trim the outer edge. You don't want to trim the lash on the inner corner. You want to trim it on the outer edge. So for the don't side, I'm not going to trim the lash at all. I'm just going to go ahead and pop it on to the lash line. And when you do it this way without trimming it, you end up getting a lash that's way too long and it just drags down the eyes. So for this lash, I'm gonna take my scissors and trim the outer edge just a little bit. We've got our lashes on, so next step is blush. Gonna take this one here And a common mistake is applying the blush directly on the apple of the cheek. Okay, so applying the blush directly on the apple of the cheek, as you can see, is not very flattering. So what I like to do, and I'm taking that same blush and I'm dragging it back. And you still want to hit the apples of the cheek, but you don't want to have the color placed directly on the apple. So I like to take the brush and start in the middle, bring it back, and then hit the apples of the cheeks. See how that's a lot more flattering and it blends in a lot better with the contour. So it's finally time for highlighter, and another mistake I see is using a highlighter that's too light or too ashy for your complexion. So for brown girls and girls with melanin, I like to stick with highlighters that are gold. Now, if you're going for a specific look, by all means, use whatever color highlighter you want to. I know colorful highlighters have been popular lately, you know, your greens and purple highlighters, and those are beautiful. I do love those. But for an everyday look, I would stick with a more gold tone highlighter. For the don't side, I'm gonna take this Anastasia Beverly Hills Aurora Glow Kit, and I'm gonna take the color Luna, which is kind of silver and a bit frosty, and I'm gonna apply that to my cheekbones. And it doesn't look horrible, but for an everyday look, I would prefer more of a gold highlight. And also, I want to point out that just because I used that Aurora Glow Kit on the don't side doesn't mean that I don't like that product. I do like the product. In fact, I like everything that I've used today. I just want to show you that by taking the same products and applying them a little bit differently, you'll get a better result. For highlighter for the do side, I'm going to take Whisper of Guilt by MAC. I'm gonna take this color here from the Saharan 2 palette and apply it right to the inner corner. And see, a nice inner corner highlight really brightens the eye and brings attention to it. Now, of course, I went in with a green highlight just because I wanted a little pop of color, but you don't have to do that. You can go in with the same color highlight you used on the cheekbone. I'm gonna be wearing a really nude lip, and for women of color, you always wanna make sure you line your lips with a lip liner that's close to your skin tone if you're gonna be wearing nude lips. For the don't side, I'm gonna skip out on liner. So this is the do side. And this is the don't. Low key, I'm actually feeling this highlighter, but for a different day and a different look. It really doesn't pair well with this look. And also, I want to say makeup is fun. It washes off at the end of the day. So if you like things from the don't side, by all means, do those. Do you, boo. Rock your makeup the way you like. This video was just to demonstrate some of the common mistakes that beginners make. Mistakes that I have made myself and have learned to correct along the way. So if this side is more your cup of tea, by all means, wear your makeup that way. Makeup is art and it's a way to express yourself. Me personally, I prefer this side for a more everyday look, and I just wanted to share with you guys how to achieve it. Alright, so this wraps up this makeup look. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to let me know down below in the comment section which side you prefer, or if there was some things on the don't side that you actually liked. Also, don't forget to follow me on all of my social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and Twitter. I will link all of those down below in the description box. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and until my next one, bye. Y'all, I'm done. My husband just told me he likes the don't side better. That's it. I give up. I clock out. I'm done. I'm done with makeup. I'm retired. That's it. Bye.